Hello there, my name is Roman Krznaric, and I understand that it is Croatia Book Night. And the theme this time around is empathy, which is a subject very close to my heart. It's a topic that I've been writing about myself for many, many years. I've written books about empathy, but I'm here now to recommend a book which I think really captures what empathy is all about. And the thing about empathy is that there are different kinds of empathy. There's what's sometimes called affective empathy or emotional empathy. That's where you share or mirror someone else's emotions. So, for instance, you see anguish on a child's face and you too feel anguish. That's affective empathy, emotional empathy. The other kind of empathy is what's called cognitive empathy or perspective taking empathy. And this is where you really step into the shoes of another person and try and see the world through their eyes. And the book I'd like to choose is exactly on this. It's called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly by Jean-Dominique Bauby, an absolutely amazing book written in 1997. It's a thin book too, doesn't take too long to read. Written in 1997 by a guy who had been the editor-in-chief of the French women's magazine Elle. And a couple of years before he wrote the book, he had had a stroke, a terrible medical condition, and he went into a coma for 20 days. He woke up after 20 days with a condition known as locked-in syndrome, where he was completely unable to move his body except for being able to blink his eyes. But he was otherwise completely conscious. So the only way he could communicate with people was through blinking, and he dictated an autobiography of his experiences just by blinking one eye. It took him about 2 minutes to communicate just one word using these special signals which he developed with one of his carers. And The Diving Bell and the Butterfly chronicles how he felt, what he thought about being locked inside his own body. It's an amazing empathic journey inside somebody else's mind to understand their feelings and their fears and their frustrations. And I just love this book, not just because it's an autobiography, and autobiographies tend to be quite empathic because you're stepping into somebody else's shoes, but this one is a really extreme case, so a very powerful example of just what it means to try and look through someone else's eyes and to understand a life that is probably very, very different from your own. And that's what the power of cognitive empathy or perspective empathy is all about. So that's the one book I'd recommend. I'd also recommend the film called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, made in 2007 by Julian Schnabel, which is very quite close to the book in many, many ways. Now, I know I'm only supposed to recommend one book, I think, but I'm going to recommend another one, which is Down and Out in Paris and London by the British writer George Orwell, that he wrote in the early 1930s. And particularly good is the part of the book, the second part of the book, where he's living as a homeless man in London. He'd actually gone to one of the most exclusive schools in England, to Eton College. He was from a very privileged background, but he really wanted to understand how other people live. And so he went and slept on the streets of East London. And this book, Down and Out in Paris of London, describes that empathic experience of what it's really like to be another person. So those are my two recommended books for you. I hope they stimulate your minds and take you on great imaginative and empathic journeys.